Thank you, Donald. I just thought I'd stay here for a minute and say a word or two to you. It's wonderful to be back here at the Melody Tub. It's been quite a few years since I was here. Of course, you've added the whole big fancy new thing up there. They got rid of the old raggedy old tent, and the elephants and the sawdust and everything. And that's not all that's new. There's a new pizza place over here, I noticed. And gourmet Chinese food over at Wong's Walk. But we still have Mr. Donald Yap and the gentlemen of the ensemble, the Funds Theater Band. Well, you know, it's really, I've never done the Music Man before, but when I was a little kid, 8 years old, in Vermont, a guy came, this was back in the 30s, and pulled off this very same thing. Do you know this is based on a true story? There actually was a Harold Hill, not named Harold Hill, but he used to work the Midwest and pull off this scam, and he was so successful that other people began imitating him. And the fellow in Vermont got in the Grange Hall and got the parents together, and my parents bought me a trombone, and but he actually taught us 2 feeble little marches before he left town. So, I was born in Vermont, but I grew up in Cambridge, Massachusetts. But my grandfather's mother and the late President Calvin Coolidge's mother were sisters. And there exists, you know, a lot of people think Cal didn't have much of a sense of humor, but he really did have a wonderful, dry Vermont sense of humor. And there exists in psychological parlance today something called the Coolidge syndrome. And what every psychiatrist knows what the Coolidge syndrome means. And this is a true story that I'm going to tell you. It really happened. And this is what the Coolidge syndrome is based on. One time, President Coolidge and he had a stunningly beautiful wife, the First Lady, Grace Coolidge, and they were at a poultry show being shown around with the press and everything. And Mrs. Coolidge was being shown ahead of the president, and the fellow that was showing around got all red in the face and had a little joke prepared. And when they got to the exhibit of the roosters, he said, "Mrs. Coolidge, I think you should know that the rooster here performs his services up to 8-9 times a day." And Mrs. Coolidge looked at him and said, "Well, be sure to give the president this information." Now, about 5 or 10 minutes later, along comes President Coolidge, and the same guy's there, all red-faced and excited. He says, "Mr. President, the First Lady said we should be sure to tell you that the rooster here performs his services up to 8-9 times a day." And Cal looked right at him and said, "Same chicken each time?" The fellow looked back at him and said, "Well, no, as a matter of fact, Mr. President, different chicken each time." He said, "See to it that the First Lady is given this information."